The end of the year came up with another amazing watch into the collection, and without a joke, the Omega Seamaster is wow. Omega made it amongst the most trending brands with better revenues and a lot of interest on YouTube. We can say this is a good brand to milk, being potentially more exciting than Rolex recently, but these are not just buzzwords. They pretty much made a series of actions to get here. They cut off the discounts, they increased the prices, they made a few models available on the waiting list, ultimately making brilliant collabs with 007 series and Swatch, as you know. But we are not here to discuss about Omega's rising trends. We're here to discuss about how good is this No Time to Die model. From my side, I am a Bond and an Omega enthusiast as an owner of the past 300M models, but also the Rolex Submariner. But because I had these models, I've never could have justified the price of this military Bonds. I was considering it pretty much the same 300M with just a few adjustments here and there. But I was totally wrong. This is a totally different beast. A diver which has the capability to outclass any Rolex diver from the wearability and the quality perspective. Omega basically wanted to create an unseen combination of a diver which came up with a cost. Yes, maybe the Bond's No Time to Die model, it's not everyone's cup of tea. Mine wasn't either based on the mentioned aspects. However, from my perspective there are quite a lot of subtle elements which needs to be understood before you say no to such a watch. As a watch appearance, this Bond release feels big but subtle in the same time. I was always looking at the wrist proportions of Daniel Craig, Bond himself, and the watch felt pretty convenient or small on his wrist. And when I'm putting it on my wrist, although I'm bigger and taller than Mr. Craig, it feels a bit big on the wrist. We've discussed about the perception of sizes based on the previous worn watches. However, indeed, as a whole, the watch doesn't look that big, mainly because of two attributes, which is the short lug-to-lug of the watch, and the second, which is the color of the watch. The No Time to Die model is made from titanium, but a grey-brownish titanium, and after years of wearing the stainless steel ceramic 300M, I can say that although it shares the same case, it offers quite a totally different appeal and proportions. So the release of the Bond watch is, in my view, a success. I mean, when you see a Submariner, you pretty much feel and see the same sub no matter the lighting conditions, as a reflective watch with straight facets and sharp angles. In fact, a Rolex Submariner is a highly contrasted watch made with polished and lacquered elements within the dial to create a refined result, where the Omega No Time to Die is made with patina matted and brushed surfaces, which creates even a more refined dial than the sub, unveiling a luxurious dial without the help of blingy polished elements, and that, believe me, it's not easy to achieve. Perception-wise, the Seamaster feels to be made from matted and warm-toned materials. Sometimes feels like marble, sometimes feels like silver, but lesser with titanium, which feels more cold than the Omega's combination. And associated with the mesh bracelet, it is surprisingly very good because it changes the rhythm imposed by the case, looking like a fabric strap rather than a solid titanium one. The dial layout is very nice as composition. We have a perfect symmetry and a dateless feature. A cleaner dial compared to the ceramic 300M, but pretty much a busy one for sure. And that happens due to the logo and the sub-labels combined with the minute markers and the thicker skeletonized hands, which are very well balanced by the broad arrow military sign, the symbol of the British Army. Now, moving in depth, the color palette is very unusual for a diver watch. Normally, a diver is purposed to be legible with higher contrasts to be easily distinguished underwater. But in this case, this Bond is literally brown. And it is very rare to see an earthy color palette applied on a tool watch, and super hard to match it with a strap. So indeed an unseen combination of a diver. They wanted to bring the vibe of the Dirty Dozen's military watches combined with the burnt tritium or radium and the patina of an old watch into a completely new model with modern features and elements recreated into a stealthy, lightweight matted tool, which adapts based on the lighting conditions, serving as a tool watch which has to work on a suit as well. And Omega did it. This combination of tones is something apart. It is something special which breeds elegance and quality. The crystal is slightly boxed compared to a regular Seamaster 300M which has a domed crystal. And what is cool, the box is angled and creates beautiful distortions interacting with the markers and the dial. And through the magnifying edges it creates also the feeling that the dial is actually angled towards the exterior as the vintage watches. And the micro texture dial is very nice, it's matted but reflective to the light, so it could elevate and increase the brown tone color even more. And the loomed markers are pretty different than the standard 300mm ones. The ceramic 300M markers have a domed surface where the no time to dime loom does not exceed the marker's height. And as color tones to complete the earthy palette of the overall dial, the hands and the markers are coated into a gunmetal tone, the hands having actually a longitudinal brushing rhythm in order to capture a totally matted appearance. And then the loom is no surprise for the legendary Seamaster diving line, having the same green and blue Swiss Superluminova, the green one being placed on the minute hand to communicate chromatically with the loom pip. But what I love, the loom is present on the bezel insert, having engraved markers and numerals loomed as well. And I'd say this is a pretty impressive extra accent and a welcome transformation. If we consider that on a day use it looks like an old patina watch and during the night looks like a high-tech ultimate tool diver. As specification, and interesting enough, I did notice that the Bond model is slightly smaller than the standard 300M. We have the same diameter of 42mm with a slightly shorter lug-to-lug of 49.6mm instead of 49.9mm. As thickness, we have 13mm in height with a box crystal, where the normal one has 13.6mm in height having a domed crystal. 20mm between the lugs and weighs 93 grams. We have the usual helium escape valve, a screw-down crown which ensures 300 atmospheres, and the case back unveils a layout specific for a on-duty military watch, inside having the caliber 8806. Technically it's the same movement as the standard 300M, the difference is the lack of a date disc. Maybe standard is not a proper word for the caliber 8800 because this is a highly potent movement with a master chronometer certification approved by Metas. Great accuracy, higher magnetic resistance up to 15,000 Gauss and 55 hours power reserve. The price is comparable to a Rolex Seamaster, having a decent value retention, once because it is a stunning watch and twice because Omega was constantly increasing the retail prices, dragging the grey market prices once with this increase. And then quality wise, the mesh is excellent, the bracelet feels composed from flattened links from a chain placed on a diagonal pattern, so a different themed bracelet which competes but adds value to the case design in the same time. The comfort is one of the attraction points of the watch as well. The no time to die model weighs 90 grams with the bracelet. The mesh bracelet is not extremely flexible, but it somehow anchors on the wrist, making contact with multiple points within the wrist volume. But sadly, because the watch is brown with warm grey tones, it is extremely difficult to match it with straps except for brown leather. As a conclusion, what would I change to the Bond's Seamaster? Literally nothing. I think the watch is charming and balanced the way it is, and it can be considered more like an inventive piece tailored for James Bond, and in my opinion this is a better diver than the Rolex Seamaster. Quality-wise, Omega invested a lot in the No Time to Die model, being more complex and more exciting in my view, and I'm glad I have it in my collection. So that's it. Hope you enjoyed this episode. With the usual curiosity, what do you think about this No Time to Die Seamaster? Please let me know in the comments below. And as usual, if you're new around, please consider subscribing for future episodes. Thank you very much. Thanks for watching, and until next time, be brave and stay safe.